You've been here before when teams are defending their championship.
Mm-hmm.
How is defending this one different than those?
I mean, they're different teams. I mean, that's the most obvious, answer at this point is that every team is different. Each year you come back, even when you have the same personnel, there are improvements in guys' games. Guys are stronger. Guys want to play different roles. There are a lot of different things to manage year in and year out, and it's no different, than this team. We have relatively the same personnel, but we're different than last year. So, other teams aren't resting; they're getting better, and when the target is even bigger on your back when you're the defending champion, and we're finding that out as we close out the season, and particularly with so many road games. And it's just not easy to do what we're trying to do. It's the reason why, as dominant as San Antonio was the last 10 or 11 years, they didn't ever win back-to-back. What we did early in the decade in 2000, 2001, 2002, there weren't any more repeat champions for the rest of the decade. So this is not something that you just wake up and decide we want to win another championship and it's just supposed to happen. It takes struggle. There's going to take pain. There are going to be injuries. There are going to be poor performances. There are going to be bad nights. There are going to be times where you're the worst team in the league. There are going to be times where you're the best team in the league. And, like I've said before, when you're standing on that podium and, you realize that you've won the championship, the emotion comes from remembering when it just didn't quite seem like you were going to get there, and you did.
Do you think it's harder to repeat now? I mean, because that's interesting. No team has done this since you guys in 2002. I mean, it used to happen with, the Lakers and the Pistons and Chicago Bulls and you guys. Do you sense that it's a little bit harder?
Well, in some ways. I mean, I think the game has changed a lot, over those years. And, you've seen, as opposed to a team like ourselves, who, started to kind of build in 96 and 97 and, 3 or 4 year process of getting to where you were becoming a champion. Now teams make moves in one summer or in one season and say, we want to win a championship right now. So teams, there are a lot more teams that are throwing themselves into the mix of making trades and signing free agents and moving guys around to get to the top of the mountain. And, I think in years past, teams like the Spurs, teams like ourselves, where you drafted guys or you made trades for guys at certain times, and then it took 2, 3, 4, 5 years, before you saw it all come together. That just doesn't happen anymore. You've seen what Orlando did to their roster after making the finals. You've seen what Cleveland's done to their roster in the last couple of years. You saw what the Spurs did to their roster this summer. So, it makes things different, more challenging. But at the same time, it's still fun to, have to dig as deep as you have to dig to figure it out and find a way. And we have a coaching staff that's the best in the business at doing it. We have players that have been in this situation before, and regardless of what's going on today, we feel like we're going to figure it out, and we're going to keep working hard at it.
That expedited process you just outlined, does that change in any way how you defend the championship?
Say it again. I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
You mentioned how just the expedited process has kind of evolved in terms of off-season movement and all that. Does that change in any way how a team defends a title now because of those changes? Or?
Well, not necessarily. I don't know if it's changed a lot in our game, but I think it continues to place pressure on front office and, coaches and teams to feel like even after being successful, maybe you still have to get better because other teams are definitely going to make a trade or try and pick up a free agent to counteract exactly what you have, So, like I said, Cleveland losing to Orlando, they go out and get Shaq. And other teams, Dallas has made a lot of moves in the last couple of years. Teams that know, in order to get out of the West or get out of the East, we have to go through this team. And they make moves to try and get that done. So, one thing that hasn't changed is that it's just not easy, no matter how you slice it, which team it is, which year it was. It's just not an easy thing to do. And that's why you remember those teams, though, because they did figure out a way to do it. And we want to still be one of those teams.